about this barefoot phenomenon. And it is interesting when Jacob explains it to me. So did you want to dive into that a little bit and maybe give people a bit of an insight to what this whole barefoot phenomenon is about?
Sure. Well, I'll preface it with this one. Whenever I'm looking at because within the health space, even within academia, I can take and I can bring you a list of studies now that say that traditional running shoes, with arch support and built up soles, and that anti-pronation shoes or whatever are highly beneficial for you. And then I can find a bunch of academic published papers that say the opposite. Mm. And now what? Who do we believe? Because both are published studies. And, you've got to look deeper. You've got to look at the methodology. You've got to critique all of that. And then you've got to do a lot of research so that you can start to see common threads, and you can start to tie in all these pieces together. But one thing that people that I often tell people is that we should also just use our logic. We've got this logic. It's just critical thinking. It's the most simple thing in the world. We were born without shoes. We were not born with arch support things on our feet. We weren't born with anti-pronation, this and that and the other. We were born with feet. And if we look at how kids are all flat-footed. And as they grow older, their muscles and tensions and fascia and whatever is supposed to tension up, and they're supposed to eventually have a nice arch. This is a natural thing that happens, and a sort of adaptation. So sort of we need to, critically thinking, we would look at that and would say, okay, how can we assist this natural process to happen more efficiently, as opposed to saying, maybe this person's foot hasn't developed and properly, they don't have an arch, so therefore we'll just stick a piece of AVA foam underneath it, and EVA foam underneath it, and that'll solve the issue. Mm. It's like, okay, but why did their foot not develop properly? What's the root cause of the problem? Is there a different way? Is there a way that we can, their structures are still there. It's not like they just disappeared. They're there, they're just not working properly. So how can we make them work again? So everything needs to be looked at critically, and needs to be looked at logically. So I'm very much in the camp of trying to, when it comes to with barefoot and with everything else health related, is to see how things used to be, and sort of get some clues of how things should be nowadays from that. And when it comes to barefoot, it just makes so much sense to me. And I've got that list of literature to back my claims up, yeah. And my whatever. So I'm fine. But, if you're trying to decide which way to go, just use your logic. And it just makes so much sense. So basically our feet have layers of muscle, and we have connective tissue. And this is supposed to support our feet and support an arch in our foot. And this arch and our toes, and there's actually loads of bones in our feet, and those are supposed to articulate and move and adjust themselves to the environment, because it's really our only contact point to the ground and to the environment that we're moving upon. So they've got to transmit forces up and down the body. So as we exert force through the glutes, that's got to, go down into the foot, through the foot into the ground, and then we get ground reaction forces back up. So, that's sort of our conductor, and everything moves, through the foot. So it needs to function well. And the more we can sort of preserve those structures, and we can build them up, the better we are at movement. It's that simple. It's really not that complex. The sort of the nutshell is not that complex. It's just, how do we make ourselves better at our natural structures? How do we support our natural structures to do what they were designed to do? and barefoot running and barefoot shoes, and that capture that the best, in my opinion.